Hi everyone, my name is Peter Esesele. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to show proof of funds for your Canada visa application or financial statement. This is one of the very critical parts of things you need to put in place while applying for your visa, because it can be a single reason why your visa is going to be or will be denied, based on lack of proof of funds, or your financial statement is not properly presented. I did a video about a week or two ago about how to show proof of funds. This is going to be a follow-up session to that video, and in this video I'm going to be diving deep into some of the questions that people have asked in the comment section. So if you also want me to feature your question in the next video that I'm going to be doing, whatever question that you have, leave it in the comment section. Are you ready? Okay, let's get started. For the very first question that I had, now somebody asked, please, what is the best proof of funds that you recommend? The GIC or your sponsor transferring money into your personal account? So GIC is a kind of maybe a bank account. You can deposit money as an international student there, and then when you get to Canada, you can then use that money. But the downside of using a GIC is actually that there are some GICs that are actually locked. Maybe it's for like a 1 year, so you might not be able to use that GIC for that 1 year. And then in terms of the second part of the question, where a family member sending money into your personal accounts, so it has to be systematically done. So the best way to do that is, let's say your tuition is 15,000 Canadian dollars or 20,000 Canadian dollars, and they send in money for you to pay that tuition. The person sending you that money, is very important that that person show proof of what they are doing. If it is your brother or your sister that sent in that money, then you should be able to show what they are doing, where they got that source of funds from, because anybody can send anybody money, and if there is no guaranteed proof of what they are doing, it can be very, very problematic in terms of convincing them. So you have to make sure that that is systematically done. And another question that someone also asked is, who is going to be the best sponsor for me? Is it my brother, my sister, my cousin? And it depends, right? Mostly your brother, your sister, your parents are usually the best people to sponsor you, right? Because it's easy for them to commit to sponsoring you. Someone outside might decide that they want to sponsor you, and at the end of the day they back out, right? So that's one of the reasons why the Canadian visa officer usually like it when the person sponsoring you is a family member. That way there is that long-term commitment that if they say they're going to sponsor you, they are going to sponsor you. Okay, there's another question that someone asked. It says, I am still confused as to how to calculate the money needed for my proof of funds, and how long will I need it to remain in my account. So my total tuition is $20,000 for 2 years, and I am going alone. So what I have to say is that to calculate proof of funds that you need, number one, for if your tuition is $20,000 and you are going alone, there's an additional at least 10,000 Canadian dollars that you need to show as proof of funds, because when you pay your tuition, there are other things that you're going to pay: your rent, you're going to feed and pay your phone bills and all that. So you don't just want to show only your only your tuition. You have to show that proof of funds. And for diploma, in this case, if you're going alone and you are sponsoring yourself, you need to show that you have at least this 30,000 Canadian dollars for this particular person, that their tuition is $20,000. And if you're sponsoring yourself, you need to show a bank account statement that is about 4 to 6 months, and show exactly what you're doing. If you are doing personal business, this money should not be something that was just borrowed, without any reference, because you can borrow money, put your account, and then they send it back after you apply for your visa, right? They want to make sure that it's your own money. There has to be that the building up of that account within the past 4 to 6 months. And then if you're a business person, show your business, right? Show your business registration, your company account if you want to, and your company documents. That really add a lot of credibility to your application. But if somebody is sponsoring, let's say your brother or your sister, they can actually just show all of their bank statement, and then they can send maybe half of your tuition to your account to say, hey, I've sent about $10,000 to your account, and maybe you can convert that money to your local currency, and then depends on whichever country you apply from, right? But all of these things needs to be explained in your letter of explanation. State exactly how much your sponsor have transferred to your account, and then if you want to state, you can also state how much your how much is left in the account, right? I did a video before in terms of letter of explanation. You can watch that video to know some of the things that you put in your letter of explanation. And then another question, is it better to go with spouse and children as dependents immediately, or just go with your spouse and bring my children there over after, acquiring PRO? I know they're kind of thinking about proof of funds here. One of the things you need to know is that if you're applying a loan, the proof of funds for cost of living is at least $10,000 as at when the last time that I checked. If you are coming with an additional family member, it's going to be, I think, another extra $3,000 to $4,000. So if you are going, let's say, with your spouse and 3 children, that's already like extra 4 people, right? Your husband plus the 3 children, 4 people. Then 4 times 4 is around $16,000, right? So between $13,000 to $16,000 in addition to your $4,000 that they are going to provide. So you have to systematically think about the fact that, do I have the money? Do I have the money to actually pay for everybody now? If not, you can apply a loan, and then when you get there, you can now apply separately for your spouse or your children to come over and join you there. Okay, let's look at the next question. I'm admitted into a university in Canada. I can't get the total amount of money required, that is the tuition plus $10,000. Please, what do I do? Now, in this case, if you go to the fees section of every department and university, you will definitely see how much funds that they require for their tuition, right? How much money they require for their tuition. And then some programs might require you to pay half of them, especially if you're applying for diploma programs, right? They might require you to apply for maybe pay half of the money, but a lot of master's or PhD program might not require you to pay for that money, before applying for your visa. So check exactly what the departments, what they require, so that you'll be able to, make your plans based on that. So if you are not paying, make sure you have at least a statement of account that will cover that whole amount of money. And this amount of money can just be in your sponsor's bank account, or they can also transfer it to you and explain that they've transferred it to you. And then I have another question here. Thank you for the information. Me and my father deposited $8,000 and $40,000 USD respectively to a bank account about 5 months ago as a lump sum. But since we've made a deposit, we have not used an account. Therefore, there is no trace of transaction throughout these 5 months. The money has been available and untouched at this time. I'm going to apply for a celebrity visa soon, and I was wondering, could this lack of transaction during this time hurt my chances? Now, it depends, right? I'll say it depends. Where is a source of funds coming from for that $8,000 and that $40,000 that you deposited, right? Is if your father has that amount of money in the previous years, that's fine. They usually recommend to print the very recent bank statement, but if you don't have a recent transaction, you can also explain that and just print the last 6 months of wherever the transaction ended, right? So, but be very sure to show where the funds came from. That is very important, right? So if your dad is working, then show the working papers and the working documents. Then this usually answer that question of where the funds are coming from. Another important question, it says, hello sir, great content you have here, thank you. says, can I start saving my 1-year tuition plus living expense in my USD account as proof of funds? I intend to attach my Ghana bank account to also provide proof funds transfer between both accounts. I've applied for a course that starts January 2023, and I intend to go with my spouse. Kindly advise. Yes, you can start saving in your USD account as far as it is a very liquid cash that is available in that account, which means that it is an account where you have access to the money anytime you need it. That way you should be able to use that account. And then if you are, if you are planning to go with your spouse, I've already talked about what you need to think about in terms of the proof of funds that you need if you are bringing and coming with your spouse. Okay, there's another question here. I got admission into an MBA program and my uncle is willing to sponsor me, but I am paying the tuition deposit. Does he need to transfer the money into my account? For the payment of tuition deposit, they don't care. Anybody can pay that from their account, irrespective of what their account is, right? So it doesn't have to be in your own account. It's just going to be, anybody that have access to paying that amount of money from the account should just do it, right? Because that is not going. You are just going to show evidence and a receipt that you've made that payment at the end of the day. So you don't have to, it can be in any account. It is when you are going to be thinking about, if you were not going to pay the deposit, then you have to think about which account you need to be, your own account or as the case may be. So in this case, anybody can pay. You just need to show evidence that you've made that payment. Okay, let's have another question. We still have some time. Are you ready? Are you tired already? Don't worry, there's still lots of exciting questions. I know there might be a particular question you have in mind. In the course of running through some of these questions, it might address some of your questions. So don't touch that dial. Just keep watching. Okay, it says, hi Peter, I have enough savings for my 2 years program plus living costs in Canada. Excellent, fantastic. But my savings account is on the daily transaction, for my need. How do I show to them? Let's say my program costs $25,000 in 2 years. I have more than $50,000 in my account in Canadian dollars. Now, if you've had that amount of money saved for your studies, that is really, really, fantastic. Even though, if you are applying for your visa, you have that money, you are going, maybe you use a little amount of money, put it back. You're not just going to say because you are planning to apply for Canada visa, then you're not going to be using your account for anything, right? So just make sure that you stay, within the minimum requirement, and then you can use your account for daily basics, right? That everyone shows that your account is currently running, but don't use so much amount of money in the account and then you'll be thinking of paying it back whenever you need it. So you can always use it for your daily transaction. Okay, another question. I have a question, please, on proof of fund, but it is for Federal Skilled Worker Program. That's fine. When we initially filled in the Express Entry form, we entered the proof of fund values. After invitation to apply, does my money have to be the exact amount I entered? Since I entered $20,000 but for two people requires $1649, will I still be expected to have $20,000 in my account? Thank you. It doesn't matter. As far as you have the minimum amount of money required for for two people, $16,499, if you have that minimum, it's fine. They're not going to be looking at the amount you filled first. It's what is required. If it crosses that, you are good. Next question. Please, my question doesn't relate to proof of funds but hangs on admission issue. Okay, I'm just going to skip that because it's an admission issue. And then another thing, it's thanks for the video. Please, I have a question on the bit of this video coverage. Can biometrics be done upfront? Anyway, I'll just answer that no, you cannot do biometrics upfront. It is when you have submitted your application, you get a letter to go do your biometrics. That is actually only when you can go do your biometrics. Okay, another question. Hi Peter, thanks for this great video. Thank you. I'm very grateful for thanking me. My question is, can having a guaranteed investment certificate, which is GIC, improve one's chance, especially when using a third party sponsor or uncle? For instance, like I said, if they are using a GIC, it's also good, but make sure that you don't sign up for a GIC that we lock that money for 1 year. Get a GIC that is easily liquid, that you can get the money at any time, so that whenever you get to Canada, you can easily have access to that money. Okay, next question. Hi Peter, I'm applying for a PhD program. I'm a pastor and my church is sponsoring my tuition from Africa while I pay for the living expenses. For the accommodation, one of my head pastors in Canada will be accommodating me. So far as proof of funds is required, what document does the headquarters need to present? And then the person that is accommodating me, what document should I present? If your church is sponsoring you, it's important that they provide financial statement as well. It's not just enough to show to put a letter that they are going to be sponsoring, that they need to show their bank account statement that this is how much you have in the account, and then they are willing to sponsor you based on that. And then the person that will be accommodating you, well, it's not so much of a big deal with regards to accommodation. The proof of funds is the most important. If the pastor who is going to be accommodating you is not really contributing a lot to your financial tuition and all that, you don't need bank statement from them. If you want to, they can probably write a letter to state that they own a particular house, and that when you come, you're going to be staying with them. But I think accommodation have very little to do with decision. I don't think I've not heard of them denying somebody visa because they don't have somebody that they want to stay with. Okay, next question. Do I need to prove that I have the money to cover my college fees and other expenses for the whole period of my education? In my case, if I have like a 3-year program, do I need to prove that I have the money to survive for those 3 years of education? So what I would say is, at least for a 3 years program, the person that will be sponsoring you or you should have at least 2 years, at least 2 years of the money that you need for the whole proof of funds. The reason being that when you come, you're going to be working, right? But if you just show half, and then what probability that you're going to be able to raise the whole amount of money to pay for your second year as the case may be. So I'll say 2 years is fine in your account and in the account of that of your sponsor. Okay, let's move to the next question. Don't get tired. There are lots of great questions still coming up. Hello, Mr. Peter. I'm presently processing my initial deposit to the school, and my problem is proof of funds, which is the problem that a lot of people have. I have a scholarship from my school, and they pay my tuition, and I'm considering using my mom's account for sponsorship at mine too. Is it too much? No, the more the better. If you have scholarship from your school, it depends on the type of scholarship. If it is a full scholarship, then you don't need to you just need to show minimum things, right? But if it's a partial scholarship, you need to show something that you have the money to cover the remaining part of that particular tuition, right? And you can use your mom, and is the more the better. Myself, I had full scholarship that covered my living expenses, my cost of living. I still provided 2 statements for account, my brother and that of my a family friend as well. So the more the better. Next question. Hello, I have a question. I want to apply for a study permit in a week or so. If I send money in a Canadian account I just opened recently, will the money in that Canadian account still have to be in that amount in my name for 4 months? I'll say it depends. If I understood your question correctly, if you send a money, depends on where you are. The country you are currently. To open a bank account, a Canadian bank account, might not be possible, except maybe you buy like GIC or some other government certificates and all that are also like proof of money you can show for proof of funds as well. If you just put the money there, I would recommend, if you have the money in your local currency and it's been there for a couple of months, it will be better to use that. Opening a bank account in Canada, well, does not necessarily improve your chance to a very large extent. They want to see that you have money even if it is in your local currency. Okay, let's move to the next question. It says, thank you so much for the video. Please, I have 12 million naira, I presume it's naira, in my fixed deposit and I work. Can I apply for a visa with a fixed deposit certificate and my statement of account That is the bank where I'll be paying salary. Yes. If you have a fixed deposit, there should be a clause. So it depends, right? It depends on, is that fixed deposit going to be readily accessible when you need that money? If it is going to be accessible when you need the money, then you can use it. But if it's a fixed deposit that say, hey, you're putting in money fixed deposit for 3 years and you want to apply for visa next week, next 2 months, it might be difficult to use that particular account because they see that it is not readily accessible. So accessibility is very, very important. I have another question, please. What if I got scholarship from a cooperative society and they are backing documents to that? They are backing documents to that regard. Just show the documents where they actually stated how much they are going to be offering you for that scholarship. That'll be fine. Another question, please. What documents do I need to show for evidence for my uncle and my father? Basically the same thing. For your father, you can provide like maybe birth certificate just to show both of you have the same surname, as the case may be. And then you can also show their work related profiles. For example, their employment details, their bank account statements, if they're working, their work ID cards, and all of their reference letter from their employer. If they have a personal business, they can show their business registration, whatever kind of business that, whatever documents they have as regard that really prove the validity of that business, they can actually use those ones as well. Then that's very similar to the next question, which says, can my father and my uncle sponsor me? Yes. Just show whatever they are doing and make sure you explain, especially when you have different surname. Just explain that this is my uncle, and that maybe my uncle have been helping me since when I was a child, as the case may be. Now they are offering to also sponsor me again. Another person, somebody said, can my brother-in-law sponsor me? Yes, of course, the brother-in-law can sponsor you. Just show documents you need to show. What are they doing, right? What are they doing? What is their proof of fund? What is their source of income? You can show all of those documentation. Show their work related. If they are doing business, you can also show that as well. And then the very last question, I think I've answered that. What do you think an uncle can sponsor me? Yes. Just show that you have proof of the relationship. Just explain in letter of explanation that your uncle has been of help to you tremendously during your undergrad program, and now is also willing to sponsor you. That's basically all the questions that I have. If you want me to feature your question in the next video, do well to leave the question in the comment section, and I'll do it to address your comment in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found useful content from this video, do it to hit the subscribe button so that whenever new videos are released, you'll be the first to get notifications. And don't forget to like this video. It will really help my algorithm to get more views. Once again, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next.